has logged in for the Look to Read webinar session this afternoon. We're going to be spending the next 30 minutes having a look at the new software. My name is Kerry Vacara. I'm the AAC Implementation Manager for Smartbox. We're going to look at Look to Read. This is our newest software. It enables children with disabilities to experience and enjoy books, and it's suitable for eye gaze, switch, and touch access. Who is it suitable for? So learners at any stage in their literacy journey, so those who might be understanding cause and effect and developing access skills, those who are ready to start exploring books more independently for the first time, and those who are recognising sounds and letters and developing early literacy. So hopefully by the end of this half-hour session, you'll have a good overview of the software and you can start looking at the features either through the trial version that you can download from our website, or if you purchase, you'll have a good idea how to find your way around it. So let's have a look first of all, before we jump into the software, at some of the key features that you need to be aware of. Across the software then there are 16 original animated stories. These cover 4 different stages of progression. And throughout these 4 stages, the children are going to be introduced to 95 letter sounds and 100 high frequency words in a similar way that they would do in school. There's 64 learning activities that are there to help consolidate learning. There's symbolised chat grids for every story. So from within the story, children have the opportunity to comment and talk about what's happening. And there's a workbook and tracking for tracking and recording progress. You'll also see, and I'll show you in a minute, that there's a high contrast mode for our users with visual impairment. So there's lots of features in Look to Read for us to look at. So I'm going to go across into the software and we'll see what it has to offer. Okay, this is my landing screen when I jump into the software, and you can see down the bottom I've got 3 options. So I can start, which will take me straight into choosing a story. I can go into settings, or I can go into resources. The resource option is where I can find the workbook and manual and download them from our website. We're going to start very briefly by looking at the settings option. The settings in Look to Read are designed to be really simple access settings. You can see here that I've got the option of eye gaze, touch pointer, 1 switch and 2 switch. If I select eye gaze, I've got here options for reading speed. It can be instant, or I can set a dwell speed here. If I go into touch pointer, that's a single setting. 1 switch, again, I've got a scan speed, fast, medium or slow. And 2 switch is a single setting. Down the bottom, you can also see that we've added high contrast mode. I can switch that on here, and then you can see throughout the software, every page will turn high contrast for those users with our visual impairment. So you can access the settings at the very beginning, or you can go back into them if you need to at any point in the software. Once I've got my settings all set up, I'm going to go into Start. Okay, this is where we go into looking at our books. You can see that the software is designed to be really bright and really colourful and lots of fun characters to really engage and motivate our learners for early literacy. We're going to have a look at the stage 1 books here. If you've got the trial version of Look to Read, then the book that you'll be able to access to have a play around with is Fat Bat, and that's the one we're going to use today. So I'm going to choose my book. And as the story opens, you'll see that I'll be given the option to start reading the story, to load the activities, or to go into the chat. The first thing we're going to do is actually read the story and have a look at how that works, and then we'll go and have a look at the chat and activities that are available within each story. So one thing that you'll notice when you go in to read a story is that you have a very clear page, white background, and the target word that you're aiming for is red. This is to enable users to really focus on the text so that they're not distracted by other things on the screen on this page. The target word, as you might see, is red, and if I don't select it, it wobbles from time to time to try and gain my attention and show me which word I need to point at. And if I select the word, what you'll hear is a real voice recording, and then that will activate the animation that goes alongside it.
Pip.
And then it automatically moves on to the next page of text.
Pip met a bat.
Okay, you can see that the animations are designed to be really fun, engaging, to guide the reader through the story, but also just to be fun and exciting, something slightly different, but to really engage them and excite them as they're going through their literacy journey. You'll notice, as I mentioned, that it's real voices.
It
There's also the
had
option,
a hat.
as we go into the animation, for you to be able to pause the animation. So I've just clicked once on the screen while the animation is happening, because it might be at this point that you want to jump out and be able to chat to the reader and talk about the story. To reactivate the animation, you simply click again and it plays. Okay. Now, I'm not going to read the whole story with you. If you want to find out what actually happens to Fatbat, you're going to need to download the trial and read it. However, what we are going to look at now is the toolbar. So the toolbar is nested away at the top of the screen. If I select this arrow on the top right hand side, it will drop the toolbar down for me. The toolbar, as you can see on the left, allows me to navigate through the story. So if I'm working with a user who may not want the animations and may just want to skip through the text, we can navigate using the arrows backwards and forwards. And here is where I can always access my chat grids at any point in the story. So let's take a look at the chat grids while we're here. This is one of the stage 1 chat grids in Look to Read. You'll notice on the left-hand side, we've got 6 cells which give us some basic core vocabulary. And then on the right-hand side here, I've got language which is associated specifically with that story. This is to allow yourself to model language for the user, but also to allow the user to start to give their opinions and talk about the story. So we might want to say,
Bat. Good.
bat is good.
Bat. Eat. Jam.
Bat eat jam.
Fat bat. Oh no.
Fat bat, oh no. What you'll also notice is that the recordings on the chat grid are the same voice recordings that you hear throughout the story. So you've got consistency. The symbols on the chat grid are unique for Look to Read, but at the same time, they also complement other symbol sets, so they should be fairly easy for users who use a variety of different symbol sets to learn and to work with. As I said, the chat grid can be easily accessed from the toolbar and then closed using the X here. Okay. So that's an introduction to Fatbat. I'm just going to jump into one of our stories at level 4 to give you an idea of the contrast between the different levels. So I'm navigating back through the menu and going into the Choose a Stage menu. And we're going to stage 4. And we'll go into Spotty Dragon. And it's exactly the same format. You get the option to start, activities, and chat. So we'll go in and have a quick look at the story. What you can see here at stage 4 is that you've got lots more text on the screen. We've got longer, more complex sentences for our users to be working with at this level.
Standing in the big green wood. Spotty Dragon was feeling sad.
Okay. And again, at this level, you've still got access to the toolbar and you've got a chat grid again. You'll notice here we've got slightly more story-specific language available in the chat grids for our users who are at a slightly higher level at this point in the story. Okay. And we're going to go back out of here. And I'm going to go back to FatBat and we'll have a look at some of the activities to give you an idea how they work. So for those of you who have recently purchased Look to Read, what I'd recommend is just explore each of the stories and have a look at what each one offers. Think about which stage is going to be appropriate for your students. So we would have some AAC learners who are going to come in at stage 1 and work through to stage 4, but we're also going to have some learners who may want to come in and are ready to start at stage 3 and move on. So you can really tailor it to the needs of your learner. I go back into FatBat here. And this time we're going to go into the activities. So what you can see here is each story has 4 activities that are there to help consolidate learning. You'll see the story sounds as the first activity and what happened as the last activity. And these 2 activities are available for every story at each stage. Obviously, the story sounds will be different for each story, and what happened, there's different questions for each story. But let's just have a look at those. So story sounds is really just designed to allow the user to start to play with the sounds that have been introduced in the story. So at stage 1, you're not seeing all of the phonic sounds available to the user. As you get to stage 4, there's an awful lot more sounds available for them to play with. So here we just start to either be listening to individual sounds, or you may have some users that want to start spelling out words. And again, what we've done at this level within the activities is have the recordings consistent. So it's the same stories that the same recording, voice recording that you're hearing in the chat grid as you're hearing when the stories are being read. So that's the story sounds. And then the what happened is around recall. So here at stage 1 and 2, you're having 3 questions at the end to recall the story key events. And at stage 3 and 4, there's 4 questions.
Who was in the story? Bat. Well done. The story had bat in it.
So if I get the right answer, I get some positive reinforcement, and I'll just show you what happens if we get the wrong answer.
What did the bat eat? Mud. The bat didn't eat mud.
So I get a verbal response, and also you'll see that it shakes to indicate that that's possibly not the right thing.
Jam. Well done. The bat ate jam.
You're going to find out what happens in the story now with me going through
Did
this.
the bat get fat or wet? Fat. Well
And then
done.
what you'll see
The
is at the
bat
end,
got
it will go
fat.
through the answers that I've given.
The story had bat in it. The bat ate jam. The bat got fat.
And a reward animation. Okay. So those 2 activities, as I said, are consistent at each stage. The 2 activities in the middle, which at stage 1 are listen and spell and building words, are ones that will change with each stage. And I'll show you in a minute what you can expect to see at each stage. I'll just give you a quick look at building words, and then we'll have a look at some stage 4 activities.
Pip.
So here I'm going to practice looking at some keywords that are in the story, and I'm going to practice putting them together.
Ip. Pip.
So I'm selecting the sounds,
Ip.
and you'll notice that I've got to repeat it 3 times.
Ip. Pip.
There we go, and then it will move on to bat. What you'll notice with the activities that I've shown you so far is that they're all designed to be errorless in the same way that the reading is designed to be errorless for our users as well. So they can't select alternative words in the story, they need to read them in order. And if they get an incorrect answer in an activity, then we give them the opportunity to do it again until they're able to find the right answer. So it is designed to be completely errorless for our learners, because we also recognise that there will be learners who will be using Look to Read who might have other things going on. So they might be learning a new access method, for example, and that will obviously impact on their ability to access Look to Read. Okay.
Bat.
So let's go and have a look at a stage 4 activity just to give you a bit of a contrast. And I'll go into Spotty Dragon because that's where we've looked before. Okay, so go into Spotty Dragon and straight into the activities here. Okay, so you can see we've still got story sounds, we've still got what happened. Now we've got things like making word and sentence building.
Spotty.
So I'm introduced to the character that I'm going to build my sentence about.
Spotty was in the big
And then I get to choose the words to finish the sentence.
green wood. Fantastic. Well done.
And you,
Spotty was in the big green wood.
you can hear that I get some positive reinforcement. Again, if I get it wrong,
Pip wasn't look like dragons in his year. Try again.
you can see that I get prompted to try it again and it will reset the sentence for me. And this goes on throughout all of the activities. Okay, so I hope that's given you a good contrast. What I'll do here is just show you the different activities that are available at each stage. Now, obviously, these activities are designed to consolidate learning for our users, but obviously they're not designed to be a full uh, sort of learning program. And what we'd encourage users to do is to develop other activities to go around and support Look to Read as well. You could obviously do those in the Grid 3 or in other bits of software that you're using, but you could really start to generate a bank of activities alongside the ones that we've created to really help consolidate learning and to support your learners to explore the story in a lot more detail. These are starting points for you. But you can see here you've got story sounds, listen and spell and building words, which were at stage 1. And then at stage 2, you've got building words and find words. And then at stage 3, you've got find words and making sentences. And then at stage 4, you've got making words and sentence building. And obviously the story sounds and what happened appears across each stage. Okay, so that's just a little overview for you. So what I'm going to do is jump back into the software and just show you very quickly the resources that are available that I mentioned at the start from our website. So we'll go back to the start page and hop into the resources, and we'll start with the manual. Okay, so you just go onto the website and you download the PDF. So I'm going to open that up. Okay, so the manual was written by our speech therapist Daisy Clay, and you can see here that it goes through lots of different elements that you'd want to see and want to find out, and the background really to Look to Read and why everything sort of happened in it. So it gives you basic information about what's in the software, some of what we've already talked about, so the 16 stories, 4 stages and 64 learning activities. It talks about who it's for, and it talks about setting up access methods as well, which is obviously really important. Ooh, excuse me. You've got an overview of the library down here. So if you've just downloaded, for example, the trial version and you're able to view FatBat, but you want to know what other stories are available, then this is a list of all the stories in the Look to Read library. It talks about literacy development, so it talks about the sorts of sounds and things that you're going to see to help support literacy at each stage. About high frequency words there. And here's a list of the sounds that are introduced or targeted at each stage. Okay, and the high frequency words again at each stage. Information about the activities that we've looked at and support for communication. I'm just flicking through because I want to show you my favourite bit at the end. Here's the bit for setting up the access method, so it gives you the basic information on what you need to do depending on which is your preferred access method. There's FAQs, and then there's printable book choosing cards. So that's my favourite bit in the manual. So what you may or may not be aware of is as you go through Look to Read, the menu pages are designed to be used by the facilitator, and obviously the book pages, the activity pages and the chat pages are accessible by the learner. So for those of you who want to support your learner to choose which story they want, we have provided printable book choosing cards at the back of the manual that you can print out and support so your learner can make a choice over which book they want to use, and those are there for each stage. Okay, so that's the manual, and the last thing I was going to show you was the workbook. So we'll download that. Okay, the workbook is here to support record keeping and just to help look at how a child might progress as they're using Look to Read. You can see there's sort of lots of bits of information to look at. So information on how to use the workbook, hints, tips and ideas for you, bit of strategy there. And then there's two recording sheets for each book, one which is focused on the reading and one which is focused on the activities. So every recording sheet for each book is the same and every recording sheet for activity is the same. Okay, and they're there for each stage. They can be printed out. So that's for the activities. They're designed to be quite quick to fill in, almost like tick box activities, but with the opportunity to add comments and next steps if you want to. And if I scroll through these and go to the end, after stage 4, you can see you've got some sample sheets to give you an idea how to fill them in. If you just want a really quick record sheet, so you want to circle the book and make a quick note, you can do that. But we've also got certificates for our learners to say that they've finished a stage when they're reading Look to Read. Okay, so those are available to download from our website. So that's just about bringing us to the end of the webinar. It's quite easy to have a look through and explore Look to Read, and that would really be what I'd encourage you to do. You can download the software, as I said, a free trial on our website, so you get all of FatBat, all of the FatBat activities, and the chat grids that can be downloaded for free. And then obviously you can go on and purchase if you'd like to, and there's information on the Look to Read page on our website for more information. If you've got any specific questions that you think of after this webinar, then do email the support team or have a look on our website because we have got lots of information about Look to Read on our website. But I really hope that's given you a quick insight into the stories and the animations and just really the fun that you can have with Look to Read. We're really excited to finally have the piece of software out, and it's something that we've all really enjoyed working on. So hopefully most of your questions have been answered. If we've missed any, we'll have a look into them and we'll post the answers on the community probably tomorrow or the beginning of next week. But thanks very much for your time.